There was a time I thought reading people was some kind of gift, something you either had or didn't. I'd watch someone walk into a room and somehow know who was confident, who was nervous, who was hiding something, and I assumed that skill belonged to other people. Not me. For me, conversations used to feel like a game where everyone else knew the rules. Someone would say, "Yeah, sure," and I'd take it literally, only to realize later that it meant the exact opposite. A friend would smile, tell me everything was fine, and 2 days later I'd find out they were upset. At work, I'd agree to things too quickly because I couldn't tell when a request was actually pressure. And then I'd go home and replay the whole interaction in my head like a movie I didn't understand. The hardest part wasn't that I felt confused. It was that I felt small. Like I was always a step behind. Like I was constantly guessing and paying for the wrong guesses. The turning point came from a simple, uncomfortable realization. I wasn't failing because I couldn't read minds. I was failing because I was trying to interpret people while my own emotions were running the show. When you're anxious, you see threat everywhere. When you're insecure, you see rejection everywhere. When you're hungry for approval, you hear what you hope is true, not what's actually happening. So I started doing something different. I stopped trying to be a human lie detector. I stopped trying to label people as good or bad, honest or fake, based on one look, one moment, one sentence. And instead, I trained one skill: quiet observation. Not the kind that turns you cold, the kind that turns you clear. Because here's what reading people without saying a word really means. It doesn't mean you're psychic. It means you can notice patterns. You can recognize tension. You can sense mismatch. When someone's words are calm but their body is bracing. When their smile shows up but their eyes don't follow. When their voice says, "I'm fine," but the rhythm of it feels tight and forced. And the most important part, you learn to read context, not just gestures. A crossed arm doesn't automatically mean someone is defensive. Maybe they're cold. Maybe it's their normal posture. Maybe they're in a room full of strangers and they're grounding themselves. One signal alone is noise, a cluster of signals, repeated, consistent, connected to the moment, that becomes information. I saw this clearly through someone close to me, and a friend of mine used to struggle with confrontation. Whenever a conversation got serious, they'd rush to fix it, apologize, over-explain, agree to things they didn't want. They thought they were being peaceful, but they were actually being controlled by fear. We started practicing something simple together. Watch for the shift, the exact moment when the other person's tone changes, when the pace speeds up, when the distance closes, when urgency appears out of nowhere. And instead of reacting, they learned to pause, just 2 seconds, and ask one calm question. That pause changed everything, because when you can pause, you can choose. And when you can choose, you can protect your boundaries without turning into a villain. You can stay kind without being naive. You can be respectful without being easily moved. And this audiobook isn't about manipulating people. It's not about winning arguments. It's about seeing clearly so you don't lose yourself in confusion, pressure, or emotional fog. It's about building a quiet advantage, one that makes you steadier in relationships, sharper in work conversations, and safer around people who rely on your uncertainty to get what they want. In the next 60 minutes, we'll build a practical framework you can use immediately. You'll learn how to establish a baseline, what someone is like when they're neutral. You'll learn why clusters matter more than single gestures. You'll learn how to read the face, the hands, the feet, and the space between people. You'll learn how voice reveals what words try to hide. And most importantly, you'll learn how to check context, power dynamics, eyes and intent without jumping to harsh conclusions. But before we begin, I want you to hear this clearly. The goal is not to become suspicious. The goal is to become calm. Reading people is not about paranoia. It's about clarity with compassion. It's about noticing what's real so you can respond with strength instead of panic, with patience instead of overthinking, with truth instead of guessing. If you've ever walked away from a conversation thinking, "What just happened?" this is for you. If you've ever felt like you keep giving too much because you can't tell when someone is taking, this is for you. If you've ever wished you could feel confident without having to speak louder, explain more, or prove yourself, this is for you. And one more thing, if someone in your life is quietly struggling with this, a friend who keeps getting hurt, a sibling who keeps getting pressured, someone who is kind but constantly misunderstood, share this audiobook with them, not as a lecture, as a lifeline. Because clarity doesn't just change conversations, it changes the way you move through your entire life. Now let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop guessing. Build a baseline. Most people don't struggle with reading others because they're bad at people. They struggle because they try to read meaning from a single moment, a tone, a look, a pause, a gesture. And then the mind does what it always does when it doesn't have enough information. It fills in the gaps with fear, insecurity, old memories, and worst-case stories. That's how you end up walking away from a normal conversation feeling like you did something wrong. That's how you end up apologizing for things no one asked you to apologize for. That's how you end up letting someone's mood decide your peace. So the first thing we need to do is simple, but it changes everything. Stop guessing. Build a baseline. A baseline is the normal version of someone, their default behavior when they're not under pressure, not performing, not defending, not trying to impress you, and not reacting to something intense. It's the way they naturally speak, move, and hold themselves when the room is neutral. Because here's the truth. You can't detect change if you don't know what normal looks like. And most of the mistakes people make in reading people come from skipping that step. They see a person with crossed arms and think, defensive. They see a person who avoids eye contact and think, lying. They hear someone answer quickly and think, they don't care. But what if crossed arms is just comfort? What if avoiding eye contact is just shyness? What if quick answers is just their personality? Without a baseline, you'll confuse personality with intention. And that will keep you trapped, reacting to people instead of understanding them. Baseline isn't built by interrogating someone. It's built through quiet observation, especially in low-stakes moments. You watch how they behave when nothing big is happening, when they talk about ordinary things, when they're waiting, walking, listening, thinking. You're not judging. You're collecting data. Think of it like learning a song. You don't understand a melody by hearing one note. You understand it by hearing the pattern. That's what baseline is. A pattern. And once you know the pattern, you can notice when something shifts. Not dramatically. Sometimes it's a half step, but that half step is everything. To keep this practical, I want you to focus on 3 anchors. 3 categories that are easy to notice and hard to fake for long. Pace, space, stillness. Let's break them down. Some people naturally speak quickly. Some people naturally take long pauses. Some people naturally switch topics fast. If you don't know that, you'll misread them constantly. So watch, how fast do they normally talk? Do they normally pause before answering? Do they normally ramble or stay concise? Now here's where baseline becomes useful. When someone who usually speaks smoothly suddenly starts stumbling. When someone who usually takes their time suddenly answers too fast. When someone who usually rambles suddenly becomes short and tight. That's not proof of anything yet. But it's a signal that something changed. And your job is not to accuse. Your job is to notice. People have different comfort zones. Some people stand close. Some people keep distance. Some people lean in when they listen. Some people lean back even when they're interested. So watch. Do they normally face you directly or slightly angled? Do they naturally lean forward or stay upright? Do they step closer or maintain distance? Then notice the shift. When someone who normally stays open begins to angle away, when someone who normally leans in begins to create more distance, when someone who normally stands close suddenly steps back. Again, don't label it. Just register the change. Because when space changes, something inside usually changed first. Some people talk with their hands. Some people stay very still. Some people fidget all the time. Some people are calm like a statue. So watch. Do they touch their face often? Do they fidget with objects? Do they move their feet, bounce their leg, tap their fingers? Baseline is not still means calm or movement means nervous. Baseline is, this is what they do normally. Then you notice deviation. A normally still person suddenly fidgets. A normally expressive person suddenly becomes rigid. That shift is a clue, not a verdict. I remember a conversation with someone I thought was judging me. The room was quiet. I was talking and they kept looking slightly to the side, not right at me. Their face didn't change much. Their arms were crossed, and my mind did what it always does under insecurity. They don't respect you. So I started talking more, explaining more, trying to earn agreement, and the more I pushed, the more uncomfortable the conversation felt. Later, I found out something simple. That person had a habit of looking away when thinking. Their crossed arms was how they stayed warm in cold rooms, and their neutral face was just their face. I wasn't reading them, I was reading my own fear. Baseline would have saved me. Because if I had watched them in other settings, coffee breaks, casual chats, group conversations, I would have seen the pattern, and I would have stayed calm. Let me be clear about something important. Baseline does not permit you to become suspicious. It permits you to become patient. When you notice a shift, your next move is not, "Why are you lying?" It's, "Something changed. I need more information." That one sentence, said quietly in your head, protects you from overreacting. Because a shift could mean many things: stress, tiredness, bad news, distraction, fear, discomfort, guilt, excitement, pressure, or nothing at all. So instead of jumping to meaning, you stay in the mode of gathering. And this is where people with real social intelligence separate from people who just think they can read others. They don't rush. They don't try to be right. They try to be accurate. Here's what I want you to do in the next 24 hours. Pick one person you see regularly, a coworker, a friend, a sibling, a partner, and for one day, do not interpret them. Just observe the baseline. Focus on these. Pace, how they speak and respond. Space, how they position themselves. Stillness, how much they move or fidget. That's it. No stories, no labels. Just quiet noticing. And then write down one sentence. Their normal looks like. Example. Their normal is speaking fast, leaning back and fidgeting with their hands. Now the next time you talk to them, you'll have a reference point. So when something changes, you won't panic. You'll become calm. What baseline gives you? Baseline gives you 3 gifts. Confidence, because you're no longer guessing blindly. Accuracy, because you're measuring change against reality. Control, because you're less reactive, more intentional. And that control matters. Because if you can stay calm in the first 5 seconds of an interaction, you can save the next 50 minutes. In the next chapter, we're going to take this even further, because baseline is only step 1. The real key is understanding this. One signal means almost nothing. Clusters reveal the truth. Let's go there. Chapter 2. Clusters beat single. Signals. If you remember only one rule from this entire audiobook, make it this. Never build a conclusion from a single signal. One gesture can mean 10 different things. One facial expression can be a habit. One pause can be someone thinking. One crossed arm can be comfort. One look away can be shyness, culture, fatigue, or simple distraction. The problem isn't that people are impossible to read. The problem is that the human mind is too eager to decide. It wants certainty fast, because certainty feels safe. So it grabs one detail and turns it into a story. And most of the time, that story is wrong. That's why Chapter 1 mattered, because once you build a baseline, you can stop reacting to random signals and start noticing what truly matters. Clusters. And a cluster is a group of signals that show up together, consistently, in the same moment, around the same topic. And a cluster has 3 qualities. It repeats. It matches the context. It creates a pattern across channels. Across channels means words, voice, face, body, and space. When multiple channels align, you're seeing something real. When the channels contradict, you're seeing tension. And tension is where the truth usually hides. Why single signals fool people? Let's talk about the most common mistakes people make. They learn one body language tip from the internet. If they touch their nose, they're lying. If they cross their arms, they're defensive. If they look up, they're imagining. If they blink a lot, they're nervous. Even if a signal has some truth behind it, it's never universal. People are not robots. They have habits, much injuries, personalities, cultures, and different nervous systems. A person can blink a lot because of dry eyes. They can touch their nose because it itches. They can look away because they're respectful. So single signals are traps. They make you feel smart, but they make you inaccurate. Clusters do the opposite. Clusters make you slower, but they make you right. The 5 channels, check. Here's a practical framework you can use immediately. When you want to read someone, check 5 channels. Words, what they say. Voice, how they say it. Face, micro shifts in expression. Body, posture, hands, tension, space, distance, angle, movement. Now here's the key. You're not checking to catch them. You're checking to see if these channels match. When the channels match, the message is clean. When they don't, something is being managed. When something is being managed, you don't accuse. You get curious. Example 1. The polite yes that isn't a yes. Someone says, yeah, sure, that's the words. But what about the other channels? Voice, shorter, flatter, less warmth. Face, smile appears, but eyes stay neutral. Body, shoulders tighten slightly. Space, they lean back or angle away. That's a cluster, not proof that they're lying. But it strongly suggests they're not fully comfortable. Maybe they're agreeing to avoid conflict. Maybe they're pressured. Maybe they don't want to disappoint you. Now you have choices. If you ignore it, you might build resentment later. If you attack it, you might create conflict now. If you read it calmly, you can do something powerful. You can create safety. You can say softly, only if it truly works for you. If not, we can find another way. That sentence alone can change your relationship with people. Because you become someone who doesn't force agreement. And when you don't force agreement, you get truth more often. Example 2. When the story feels too smooth. Sometimes the mismatch is the opposite. The words are perfect. The explanation is clean. Everything sounds reasonable. But something feels off. Why? Because the channels don't align. Maybe you notice. Words, detailed, rehearsed. Voice, too controlled, too steady. Face, minimal emotion. Body, very still, hands hidden, posture rigid. Space, they stay locked in place, no natural movement. That cluster doesn't mean deception, but it can mean they're managing an image. When someone is managing an image, it's often because they're afraid of being judged, or they want power, or they're hiding uncertainty. Again, your move isn't accusation. It's a clean question. What part of this feels hardest for you right now? Or What's the one thing you're not saying because it might sound bad? A calm question breaks performance. It invites honesty. A personal example. How I learned this the hard way: I used to believe words too quickly. If someone said the right thing, I relaxed. I thought, okay, we're good. But then I started noticing a pattern with someone I worked with. They always agreed, always. No pushback, no questions, no resistance. And at first I loved it. It felt easy, but the results kept falling apart. Deadlines slipped, details were missed, and when problems happened, they'd act confused, like we never discussed it. So I stopped focusing on their words, and I watched the cluster, and every time we discussed something important, their yes was fast. Their voice got higher. They smiled briefly, then their lips pressed tight, their shoulders lifted, their feet angled away from me. It was subtle, but it repeated, and once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. The cluster was saying, I'm saying yes because I feel pressure. I'm not actually clear. I'm not actually committed. So I changed my approach. I stopped asking, is that okay? And started asking, what might stop this from happening? At first, they still said nothing, but the cluster didn't match. So I stayed calm, stayed patient, and kept the door open. Eventually they admitted, I don't want to disappoint you. I'm not confident I can do it. That honesty didn't appear because I cornered them. It appeared because I read the cluster and responded with calm clarity instead of pressure. The 3+1 rule for accuracy. Here's a rule that will protect you from overreacting. Don't act on one signal. Don't even act on two. Wait for three signals in the same direction, and then add one more check. Context. That's why I call it the 3+1 rule. 3 signals create a cluster. Context tells you what it might mean. Example, if someone is fidgeting, plus speaking faster, plus avoiding eye contact, that could be nervousness, or guilt, or attraction, or social anxiety. Context decides, what topic are you discussing? What's at stake? Who has power? What happened earlier? If the context is a job interview, nervousness is likely. If the context is a missing piece of money, guilt is possible. If the context is a date, attraction or anxiety could be there. You don't need to know immediately. You need to choose the right next move. Once you notice a cluster, you have 2 high-level options. Confirm gently, create space. Confirm gently means you ask a question that gives them dignity. Not, why are you lying? But, I might be wrong, but I feel like this isn't fully comfortable. Want to talk it through? Or, do you want time to think before answering? This is powerful because it makes you a safe person. Safe people get truth. Unsafe people get performance. Creating space means you pause the decision. You say, let's come back to this later. Or, no rush, I'd rather do this right. People who manipulate rely on urgency. People who are anxious rely on escaping. When you create space, you break both patterns and you regain control. And a friend of mine used to get trapped in pressure conversations. Someone would ask for a favor. They'd say yes instantly. Then they'd resent it. Then they'd avoid the person. Classic cycle. We practiced one simple habit. When they heard a request, they watched for their own cluster, because reading people starts with reading yourself. Their cluster was heart rate, up quick smile, automatic, yes tension in shoulders. That was their people-pleasing baseline. So they changed one thing. They stopped answering immediately. They said, let me check my schedule and get back to you. That one sentence saved them from so many regrets. And here's the funny part. The people who truly respected them didn't mind. The people who relied on guilt got irritated. So the sentence didn't just protect their time, it revealed the other person's intent. That's what calm clarity does. What clusters give you accuracy. But more importantly, they give you emotional safety, because you stop being controlled by one random look. You stop being hijacked by one weird pause. You stop turning every small signal into a crisis. You become a steady observer. And when you become steady, people behave differently around you. They either relax into honesty, or they show you exactly who they are. In the next chapter, we're going to zoom in on the most obvious place people leak information without wanting to: the face. Not in a dramatic way. In small, quiet, micro stories that happen before someone has time to edit themselves. Let's continue. Chapter 3. The face tells the truth. First, the face is the fastest storyteller you will ever meet. It speaks before words. It reacts before logic. Even when someone tries to control everything else, tone, posture, phrasing, the face leaks the first draft of the truth. But the first draft, that's what you're learning to notice. When someone says, "I'm fine," the face sometimes answers, "I'm managing." When someone says, "No problem," the face may flash, "That bothered me." When someone acts confident, the face can show a microsecond of fear. Then the mask returns. Your job is not to judge. Your job is to observe. Like a scientist with a heart, a micro-expression is a tiny, involuntary facial movement that appears for a fraction of a second, often before a person can compose themselves. You don't need to label it perfectly. You just need to recognize the pattern. Emotion appears, then control takes over. Look for quick, widened eyes and lifted brows, surprise. Notice brows pulling down and together, anger or irritation. Watch for a wrinkled nose or lifted upper lip, disgust. Pay attention to the one-sided smirk, contempt. And learn the fear look. Brows lifting and drawing together, eyes opening a bit too wide. One signal means little. A cluster means something. You're not hunting proof. You're locating pressure. The eyes are not lie detectors. They're attention detectors. Forget the myth that looking away equals dishonesty. Eyes move for many reasons. Memory, anxiety, respect, overstimulation, even cultural habit. What matters is timing. Watch when the gaze shifts. If someone breaks eye contact right when you mention a specific name, topic, or decision, you've found a hotspot. Not a verdict, a hotspot. And hot spots deserve gentle questions, not harsh accusations. Also watch for the opposite. Some people stare too hard. A rigid, unblinking gaze can be a form of control. It can be dominance, defensiveness, or someone trying to look confident. Don't label it too quickly. Just notice it, then look for supporting signals. Now watch the mouth. People can fake a smile, but they can't easily fake a relaxed mouth. A real smile softens the whole face, especially around the eyes. A polite smile often stays in the lips only, upturned corners, but no warmth above them. Tension shows up as thin, pressed lips after yes, a clenched jaw while saying "I don't care," a quick lip bite when holding back words, or a forced swallow, like they're pushing something down. These are not lies, they're breaks, so the body applying pressure to keep something inside. I learned this in a meeting that looked perfect on paper. Two people agreed to a plan that was going to collapse. The words were aligned. The timeline was fine. The tone was polite. But one person's face told a different story. Every time the deadline was mentioned, their mouth tightened, just enough to notice. Their jaw shifted. Their smile arrived late, like it had to catch up. That was the cluster. So instead of pushing forward, someone asked, "Is there anything about this timeline that feels unrealistic?" The answer came with relief. "Yes, I can't hit that. I didn't want to say it in front of everyone." One calm question saved weeks of frustration. That's what reading the face is for. Not to expose people, to protect outcomes. Here's a practice you can use in real conversations without making it awkward. The 3-second replay. When you ask a question and you get an answer, mentally replay the first 3 seconds after your question. Because the first reaction is often honest, and the second reaction is often edited. In those 3 seconds, look for a flash of emotion followed by a smile, a tightening followed by a relaxed posture, or a pause followed by a polished sentence. If you notice the edit, don't attack it. Slow down the moment. Say, "Take your time," or "No rush. I want your real answer." You're permitting them to choose truth over performance. To confirm what you see without creating conflict, use a soft mirror. Reflect emotion, not accusation. Instead of "You're angry," try, "Man, that sounded a little frustrating." Instead of "You don't believe me," try, "I'm not sure this feels fully settled yet." Instead of "You're lying," try, "Parts of this feel guarded. Help me understand." A close friend of mine used this at home, and it changed everything. He and his partner had a pattern. He'd ask, "Are you okay?" She'd say, "I'm fine." Then silence would turn heavy for the rest of the night. One evening, he watched the first reaction. When he asked, her face softened for a split second, then tightened. Her eyes dropped, her lips pressed together. He didn't interrogate. He simply said, "I'm here. If you want to talk, I'll listen." 10 minutes later, she did. Not because he forced it, because he made it safe. That's the real skill, turning observation into safety. Try a quick drill tonight. Pick a short video interview. Turn the sound off for 30 seconds. Watch only the face. Ask, when does emotion appear? When does control appear? And what topic triggers the shift? Then turn the sound back on and compare. Do this a few times and you'll start noticing patterns in meetings, in family conversations, and in your own reflection. Because this isn't only about reading others, it's also about reading yourself. When you learn what your face does under pressure, you gain control. You stop leaking signals you don't intend to send. You become calmer, clearer, more grounded. And that's where we go next. Once you can notice emotion, you need to guide the conversation without force. Better questions, better timing. Chapter 4. Hands, feet, and distance don't lie. If the face is the first draft of emotion, the body is the long-form story. People can control their words. They can even control their facial expression for a while. But the body, especially the hands, the feet, and the space a person chooses, tells you what's happening underneath, often without them realizing it. And the reason is simple. The body's job is protection. When the mind feels pressure, the body adjusts first. It braces, it retreats, it prepares, or it opens, it leans in, it relaxes. These are not moral signals, they're survival signals. So in this chapter, you're going to learn to read 3 things that are extremely practical in real life. What the hands are doing, where the feet are pointing, how distance changes in the middle of a conversation. Not to become paranoid, and to become calm and accurate. Hands, the easiest place to spot tension. Hands are honest because they're restless. They reveal what someone is trying to do internally. Hold back, protect, soothe, or control. Start with this question: are their hands relaxed or managed? Relaxed hands tend to move naturally. They rest openly. They gesture smoothly, not sharply. Managed hands often do one of these things. They hide, hands under the table, in pockets behind the back. They grip clenched fists, gripping a cup too tightly, white knuckles on a phone. They soothe, rubbing palms, stroking fingers, touching the neck, playing with rings. They block, holding an object like a shield, crossing arms while gripping the upper arms. Again, one signal means little, but a cluster, repeated around a topic, is information. For example, See, someone might touch their neck because they're hot. But if they touch their neck every time you mention a specific person, or every time money comes up, or every time you ask for commitment, now you're seeing a pattern. Touching the neck, throat, or collar area often shows vulnerability. It's a self-soothing reflex. It can mean anxiety, discomfort, or simply emotional intensity. Your job isn't to label it as fear. Your job is to notice this topic raises their internal temperature. One of the clearest hand signals is the difference between open palms and tight palms. Open palms, hands visible, palms occasionally exposed, often correlate with openness. Tight palms, hands clenched, fingers interlocked too firmly, often correlate with control or restraint. People do this when they're holding back disagreement, holding back emotion, and also holding back the urge to leave. If you want to confirm without conflict, use a calm invitation, not a demand. Feel free to be honest. If something doesn't work, say it. That sentence often relaxes the hands first, then the words follow. Feet, the direction of truth. Feet are underrated because they're rarely performed. People manage their face for you. They manage their tone for you, but they forget about their feet. Feet often reveal intent, especially the intent to stay, to leave, to engage, or to escape. Here's the simplest observation. Where are the feet pointing? If someone's torso is facing you, but their feet are pointing toward the door, that's a common sign of readiness to exit. It doesn't mean they dislike you. It could mean they're overwhelmed, uncomfortable, late, or simply done with the topic. And now combine it with the rest of the cluster. Feet toward the door, body leaning back, short answers, hand fidgeting, reduced eye contact. That cluster suggests, I want out of this moment. If you ignore it and keep pushing, you'll create resistance. If you read it calmly, you can create an opening. Do you want to take a break and come back to this? You'll be surprised how often the truth appears when you offer a respectful exit. Feet can also show engagement. When someone is interested, their feet often orient toward you. They may step slightly closer, or they may mirror your stance. It's not magic. It's alignment, a small warning. Don't overread this in crowded spaces. People stand with feet wherever there's room. Context matters, but in calm settings, one-on-one conversations, meetings, quiet rooms, feet can be incredibly revealing. A distance, the invisible language between two people. Now we get to something even more powerful, distance. Distance is not just about comfort. It's about boundaries, trust, power, and emotional temperature. A conversation has a default distance. That's part of baseline. Some people naturally stand close. Some people naturally keep space. What matters is change. If someone who normally stands close begins to create space, something shifted. If someone who normally keeps distance suddenly moves in, something shifted. Distance changes for reasons like discomfort, fear, intimidation, attraction, urgency, dominance, trust, or a desire to connect. So instead of guessing why, watch when it happens. A useful method is to map the conversation to moments. When did they step back? After what sentence? When did they lean in? After what topic? When did their shoulders turn away? When did they start angling their body? This is how you find the pressure points without forcing anything. I saw this once with someone close to me. Family, not business. So the emotions were real. We were talking about something sensitive. They were fine at first. Normal distance, normal posture, normal voice. Then I mentioned one specific detail, something small, almost harmless. And immediately, they stepped back half a step. Not dramatic, just a half step. Their arms crossed, their hands gripped their elbows, their feet angled away. If I hadn't trained myself to notice clusters, I would have done what most people do: push harder, ask more questions, try to solve it. But instead, I did something different. I slowed down. I said calmly, "We don't have to talk about it if you're not ready. I just want to understand when you are." That was it. That sentence didn't demand. It didn't accuse. It didn't corner them. And because it created safety, the distance softened. They stepped back into the conversation, emotionally first, then physically. 10 minutes later, they told me what was really going on, not because I was clever, because I respected the signal. Distance is often the body's way of saying, "I need safety." Chapter 5. The voice beneath the words. If you want to read people without saying a word, stop staring at their face and start listening to their voice. Not the words, the voice. Because words can be rehearsed, a voice is harder to fake for long. Think of the voice as the body's soundtrack. When someone feels safe, the soundtrack is steady. When someone feels threatened, the soundtrack changes. It speeds up, it tightens, it goes higher or flatter or suddenly polite in a way that feels like distance. Here's the key. You're not hunting for nervous or lying. You are listening for shifts. A voice that shifts at the exact moment you touch a topic is a signal. It means something inside them moved. There are 5 vocal signals that matter most in real life: speed, pitch, volume, pauses, and endings. First, speed. People talk faster when they feel pressure. Sometimes it's excitement. Sometimes it's fear of being questioned. Sometimes it's a need to convince. Fast speech can be innocent, but if the speed spikes right after a simple question, it often means their nervous system is trying to outrun discomfort. Second, pitch. A rising pitch can come from enthusiasm, but it can also come from uncertainty. Pay attention to pitch jumps on key phrases. "I swear," "honestly," "to be real," "I promise." Those are verbal spotlights. When the voice rises while the words insist, it can signal internal tension. Third, volume. A sudden drop in volume is often more revealing than a sudden increase. People lower their volume when they feel exposed, when they are sharing something sensitive, or when they are unsure how it will land. You say a sudden increase can be dominance, or it can be defense. Volume is context, but changes are truth. Fourth, pauses. Pauses are the fingerprints of thought. A calm, natural pause is healthy. A pause that appears only on certain questions is informative. It can mean searching for the right truth, searching for the right story, or deciding how much to reveal. Again, you don't accuse, you notice. Fifth, endings. Most people don't listen to endings, but endings show confidence. Confident speech tends to land downward. Uncertain speech often lifts up at the end, like a question mark. It sounds like this: "Yeah, I did that." Even when it's not a question, that upward ending is the voice asking for approval. Now add 2 quiet signals most people miss: breath and cover laughter. When people get tense, breathing climbs into the chest. You'll hear shorter phrases, extra inhales, and sometimes a throat clear before they answer. Cover laughter is that quick, soft laugh that shows up when the topic isn't funny. It's a pressure valve. In the Midwest, you might hear it as politeness. In New York, as sarcasm. Either way, it's not comedy, it's relief. Always compare it to their baseline. Now, let's make this practical with a real example. A friend of mine once told me he was totally fine after a breakup. His words were strong. He smiled. He even joked. But his voice betrayed him. The speed was normal, but the volume dropped every time he mentioned her name. Not once, every time. And the ending of his sentences lifted, as if he needed me to agree that he was okay. So I didn't argue. I didn't say, "You're not fine." I asked one clean question. "When you say you're fine, what does fine look like tonight?" He paused longer than usual. He exhaled. His voice went flatter. Then he said quietly, "I don't know what to do with my evenings." That was the truth. The voice led me there, not the words. This is why reading people is not about catching them. It's about meeting the real emotion underneath the performance. Here's a simple rule you can use. When the voice and the words don't match, trust the voice first. If someone says, "I'm not mad," but the pace is sharp, the volume is hard, and the pauses are aggressive, the emotion is still present. If someone says, "Sure, whatever," but the voice is soft and warm, they may be trying to end conflict, not start it. But don't weaponize this rule. Use it to slow down. On phone calls, these cues amplify. No facial mask, just sound. And notice when someone suddenly speaks slower, softer, or more formal too. When you detect a mismatch, do one of three things. Option 1. Reflect the feeling without naming it too strongly. "I might be reading this wrong, but it feels like there's more here." This invites honesty without forcing it. Option 2. Ask for a number. Numbers reduce drama. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you about that? People can lie in sentences. It's harder to lie in a number and keep it consistent. Option 3. Offer safety. You don't have to decide right now. Safety relaxes the throat. You'll hear the voice drop into a more natural register when pressure is removed. Now you need one training exercise, because skill comes from repetition. For the next 7 days, pick one conversation per day and listen for one thing only: pace. Don't analyze anything else. Just notice pace changes. Then the next week, do pitch. Then volume. Then pauses. Then endings. Your ear will sharpen fast. And here's the final insight. Your own voice teaches people how to speak to you. If you want others to be honest, your tone must feel stable. Calm voice, calm room. Rushed voice, rushed truth. So read the room, read the shifts, respect the signals. And remember, the goal isn't to sound smart. The goal is to understand what's real. Chapter 6. The feet don't lie. If you want to read people without saying a word, stop treating body language like a magic trick. It's not one gesture that reveals everything. It's a pattern, a cluster, a change from someone's baseline. Most people watch faces. Faces are trained. Faces learn to smile at work, nod in meetings, and look calm while the mind is racing. But feet are honest. Hips are honest. The direction of a body is the truth people forget to edit. Here's the first principle. Bodies go where comfort goes. If someone's feet point toward you, they're oriented to you. If the feet angle toward the door, the body is already negotiating an exit, even if their words are polite. In everyday life, you'll see this at a party. Someone says, "Yeah, totally, I'm listening," but their torso is half turned towards someone else. Their feet are ready to move. That doesn't mean they dislike you. It means their attention is divided, or the room feels safer somewhere else. The second principle. Distance is a message. People close distance when they feel trust, curiosity, or affection. They create distance when they feel uncertainty, irritation, or a need for control. Watch what happens after you say something personal. Do they lean in? Do they step back? Do they cross an arm as if to build a small wall? Now, don't judge one signal. Look for a sequence. A step back plus tightened shoulders plus shorter answers is a cluster. A step back alone might just be crowded space. Let's talk about the hands, because hands are where nervous systems speak. When someone is calm, hands are still or purposeful. They gesture naturally. They rest. When someone is tense, their hands do extra work, rubbing fingers, touching the neck, playing with a ring, tapping the table, cracking knuckles, over-adjusting sleeves. These are not lies. They are self-soothing. I once watched a co-worker negotiate a raise. His words were confident, but his hands kept smoothing the same spot on his pants over and over. That motion wasn't deception, it was regulation. He was trying to stay steady while asking for something that felt risky. That moment taught me an important rule. Don't punish signals of tension. Respond to them with safety. If you see self-soothing, you can slow the pace. You can soften your gaze. You can ask a gentler question. People reveal more truth when they feel you won't use it against them. Now, the most powerful body language tell isn't movement. It's stillness. When someone suddenly freezes, it often means a boundary has been touched. Their body stops to assess. Their eyes get narrower or wider. Their breath changes. Their posture locks. That freeze might last half a second, but it's real. It's the body saying, "Hold on." In conversation, you can test this without being manipulative. You simply observe what topics create a freeze. When you mention a person, a place, a deadline, or a money detail, does their body stiffen? If yes, that topic carries weight. Here's a quick example from real life. A close friend told me he didn't care about what his family thought of his career. He said it with a shrug. But when he mentioned his father, his shoulders rose slightly and his feet shifted back under his chair as if preparing for impact. His voice stayed casual. His body didn't. So instead of challenging him, I asked, "What's the hardest part about hearing his opinion?" He exhaled. His shoulders dropped. His feet returned forward. And he finally said, "It makes me feel like I'm failing, even when I'm not." That's what reading people is for. Not to win, but to arrive at the real feeling. Now let's make this practical with a simple framework you can use in any room. I call it the 3 Ds: direction, distance, and drifts. Direction. Where is the body aimed? Feet, hips, shoulders. Are they open to you or angled away? Distance. Are they moving closer, staying neutral, or creating space? Do they mirror your distance or resist it? Drifts. Small unconscious movements that drift under pressure. Touching, tapping, fidgeting, locking still, holding breath. If you practice these 3, you'll read people faster than you think. But there's an ethical line here. Because reading without speaking isn't about control, it's about compassion and clarity. If you're looking for weakness to exploit, you'll get it wrong anyway. Fear makes you interpret everything as a threat. A good reader stays neutral. So here's your exercise for the next 48 hours. In 2 conversations, watch only feet. Don't stare. Just notice direction at 3 moments: the start, the middle, and the end. If the feet drift away as the conversation goes on, ask yourself why. Did the topic shift? Did your tone change? Did someone else enter the space? You're training pattern recognition, not paranoia. In 2 other conversations, watch distance. Notice how close people stand when they feel safe. Notice how far they stand when they feel rushed, irritated, or unsure. You will start to see relationships like invisible geometry. And finally, watch your own body. Because the fastest way to read others is to regulate yourself. Your posture, your pace, your breathing, those are signals too. When you become steady, people become readable. Reading people isn't a trick, it's attention. Quiet, respectful attention. Watch direction, watch distance, watch drifts. And when the body speaks, listen with maturity. One last reminder: context beats cleverness. A cold room makes arms cross. A loud bar makes people lean away. Stress can mimic guilt. Always compare signals to the environment and to the person's baseline. Your job isn't to accuse. It's to understand. before you decide anything. Chapter 7. Spot manipulation. Calmly, there's a reason the most exhausting people in your life rarely look dangerous. They often look friendly, they sound reasonable, they speak with confidence, and yet, after you talk to them, you feel smaller, guiltier, rushed, or strangely confused. That feeling is not random. It's usually the result of pressure tactics, sometimes intentional, sometimes unconscious, that push you to abandon your own clarity. Reading people without saying a word matters most here, because manipulation thrives on speed and emotion. It wants you to react before you think. It wants you to answer before you check your baseline. So the goal of this chapter is not to make you suspicious, it's to make you steady. Start with a simple definition. Manipulation is any pattern that tries to move you through fear, guilt, urgency, or confusion instead of honest agreement. Healthy influence feels clear. Manipulation feels tight. There are 3 common tactics you can learn to spot fast. The first is urgency. You'll hear it in words like, right now, don't overthink, just do it. This is your only chance. But you'll also see it in the body. The person leans in, closes distance, speeds up their speech and keeps you from pausing. Their feet may angle toward you like a push. Their hands may point, tap, or hover as if guiding you. The message is simple. Decide before you breathe. Your calm response is also simple. Create time. You don't need an argument. You need a boundary. I'll think about it and get back to you. Say it slowly. Say it once. Then stop talking. Silence is not weakness here. Silence is a lock on the door. The second tactic is guilt. Guilt sounds like, after all I've done. If you cared, you would. I guess I'll just handle it alone. In the body, guilt often shows as dramatic sighs, slumped shoulders, and a sad face that appears on cue. It's emotional theater. Sometimes the person truly feels hurt, but the pattern is still the same. Your empathy gets used as leverage. The calm way to handle guilt is to separate feelings from decisions. You can respect their emotion without surrendering your choice. I hear that you're disappointed. I'm still not able to do that. Notice how those 2 sentences do different jobs. One honors, one protects. The third tactic is confusion. This is the quietest and most damaging. Confusion shows up when someone keeps shifting facts, changing the subject, or making you doubt what you clearly remember. And they may smile while denying reality. They may speak softly, like you're the problem. Your body starts to tense, and you feel the urge to explain yourself more and more. Your signal here is internal. If you feel like you're losing your grip on the conversation, slow down. Watch for mismatches. A warm tone with slippery logic. A friendly face with constant deflection. A calm voice with changing stories. These are clusters. The best response to confusion is clarity in writing or clarity in structure. Let's summarize what we agreed on. Or, can you say that in one sentence? Or, I want to come back to the original point. Structure breaks fog. Now, here's the most important skill. Reading your own nervous system. Manipulation works when it hooks you. So learn your hook signals. For some people, it's the urge to please. For others, it's the fear of conflict. For others, it's the desire to prove they're smart. When you feel that hook, don't fight it. Name it silently. I'm feeling pulled. That naming creates space between you and the bait. A friend of mine used to get trapped by urgency at work. A colleague would drop tasks late with a smile and say, "You're the only one who can do this." My friend's chest would tighten, and he'd say yes, even when he was drowning. We practiced one sentence. "I can't commit on the spot. Send me the details." The first time he used it, the colleague's face changed, just a flash. The smile stiffened. The voice got sharper. That cluster revealed the truth. It wasn't about capability, it was about control. And notice something. He didn't discover that by accusing. He discovered it by pausing. So here are 3 anchor phrases you can keep ready. They're short, calm, and difficult to argue with. 1. Let me think. This protects you from urgency. 2. Help me understand. This exposes shifting stories. 3. That doesn't work for me. This ends guilt negotiations. Say them without extra explanations. The more you explain, the more material you give a manipulator to twist. Calm, brief, and consistent is your shield. Finally, remember the ethics. Reading manipulation is not permission to become cold. It's permission to stay whole. You can be kind and firm at the same time. You can listen and still say no. You can care and still require clarity. If you take nothing else, take this. The strongest people are not the loudest. They are the ones who can pause under pressure. They notice the cluster. They regulate their breath. They choose their response. One more quiet test. Watch how they react to your boundary. Healthy people may be disappointed, but they stay respectful. Manipulative people escalate. More pressure, more guilt, more confusion, or they punish you with silence. That reaction is information. You don't need to win the moment. You need to see the pattern. Once you see it, you can choose distance, choose limits, or choose exit without drama. Your peace is worth that choice. Always. In the next chapter, we'll turn everything you've learned into a simple daily framework you can use in any conversation without turning into someone you don't respect. Chapter 8. The Silent Reading Framework. By now, you've learned something important. Reading people isn't a talent. It's a sequence you repeat until it becomes calm instinct. And if you're like most people, the problem has never been that you can't notice signals. The problem is that you notice signals and then panic. You overinterpret. You rush to meaning. You jump to conclusions and act too fast. So this final chapter gives you one thing, a simple framework you can run in any conversation, quietly, inside your mind, without changing who you are. I call it the Silent Reading Framework. 5 steps, short, practical, ethical, not to control people, to stay clear. Step 1. Read yourself first. Before you read anyone else, check your own state, because your state is the lens. If you're anxious, you will see threat. If you're lonely, you will see rejection. If you're hungry for approval, you will hear yes, even when it's not a yes. So take 2 seconds. Ask, am I calm or tense? Am I trying to prove something? Am I afraid of conflict? If you feel pulled, that's your signal to slow down. This is not spiritual, it's practical. Your nervous system decides how accurate you are. Even one deep breath changes the conversation because it changes you. Step 2. Set the baseline. Baseline means, what is normal for this person in neutral moments? Do they talk fast by default? Do they smile a lot? Do they avoid eye contact naturally? Do they fidget all the time? Baseline prevents you from mistaking personality for intention. If you don't have a baseline yet, you create a mini baseline by watching the first minute of the interaction before the serious topic arrives. What does their neutral look like today? Step 3. Look for clusters, not clues. Stop obsessing over one signal. Instead, look for 3 signals pointing in the same direction. A mismatch between words and voice, a tightening face plus a step back, a sudden rush plus a forced smile. Clusters are where accuracy lives. 1 clue is noise. 3 clues together are information. And when you see, don't label it, don't accuse, just name it silently. Something changed. Step 4. Check context and power. Now ask the quiet questions that separate pros from amateurs. What's at stake for them? What's at stake for me? Who has power here? What do they want to protect? What do they want to gain? Context explains signals. A person can look tense because they're lying, or because they're scared, or because they're tired. Context tells you which is more likely. Power dynamics also matter. People perform around authority. They hide around judgment. They rush around pressure. When you understand context, you stop taking everything personally. That alone makes you calmer. Step 5. Ask a clean question. This is the step that turns observation into clarity. Clean questions are calm, short, and non-accusatory. They don't corner people. They invite truth. Here are a few you can keep ready. What part of this feels hard to say? Is there anything you need before you can decide? What would make this feel fair for you? When you say yes, what do you mean exactly? Do you want time to think? Notice. None of these questions say, "I caught you." They say, "I want reality." And reality is where your peace lives. A real-life mini-case. How the framework saves you. Imagine you're in a conversation where someone says they're fine with something you asked, but something feels off. Old version of you might push, "Are you sure? Don't be mad. Please tell me the truth." That often creates more performance. A new version of you runs the framework. Step 1. You notice your own tension. You breathe once. Step 2. You remember their baseline is usually warm and talkative. Step 3. You see a cluster, shorter answers, tight smile, feet angled away. Step 4. Context. They're tired, and the request costs them time. Step 5. Clean question. If the answer is no, that's okay. What would work better for you? Now the truth can surface without drama. This is how you read people and still stay kind. The ethical code. Don't turn this into a weapon you're going to get better at noticing. That means you'll sometimes see insecurity, sadness, or fear before the other person admits it. Don't use that to win. Use it to be wise. The rule is, observe privately, respond respectfully. You can hold a boundary without humiliating someone. You can see manipulation without becoming cruel. You can notice weakness without exploiting it. If your intention stays clean, your reading stays accurate. Fear makes you interpret everything as threat. Respect makes you see what's real. And the final skill, your silence is a tool. There's one ability that separates people who are easily controlled from people who are steady. They can pause. They don't answer instantly. They don't fill silence. They don't rush to fix discomfort. Silence creates space, and space reveals truth. If you want to practice, do this. When someone asks you for something, pause for 2 seconds before answering. Not as a game, as a habit of self-respect. Those 2 seconds protect you from pressure and reveal the other person's intent. A closing reminder before the outro: reading people without saying a word is not about becoming suspicious. It's about becoming clear. Because clarity gives you better relationships, better decisions, and fewer regrets. You stop building stories in your head. You start responding to reality. And reality, when you face it calmly, is always easier than confusion. Now, let's bring this home with a final outro that connects everything and turns it into a way of living.